So welcome. Take a moment to arrive here, get whatever you need to be comfortable for this hour. Hi, Ellie. Got Ellie on, and we've got so far 10 people joining us. So we've got Amy, Claire, Dujawita, Ingrid, Joanne, Josephine, Katie, Kelia, Lucy, Mariska, Maura, Nikki, Rainbow, Mr. Wendy. So you might want to, those of you arriving, you might want to just type where you're calling in from in the chat so we get a sense of who's here today. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. We've got Wendy from San Francisco. Welcome, Wendy. Katie from Devon, UK. Dujawita from Germany. Joanne from Sheffield. Kelia from New York. Josephine from Northern Ireland. Mariska from the Netherlands. Lucy from Bristol. Claire from the Isle of Wight. Natalka from Manchester, UK. Nice to see you again. Yeah, Michelle. Michelle from Manchester, not Liverpool anymore. Ingrid from Colorado, USA. Rainbow from Virginia, USA. Welcome everybody. And when you are putting things in, you might want to put to all panelists and to guests so that everyone can see, and attendees, all panelists and attendees, so everyone can see what you're saying. That'd be great if you're okay with that. So welcome. I'm just gonna come over here. So I'm sure many of you know who I am. So I'm Frances Goodall, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Women's Wellness Circle, which I now co-direct with Jen Evans. The Women's Wellness Circle was partly born out of my own recovery journey from chronic fatigue syndrome. And Jen and I have both recovered from chronic illness, which inspires all our work for the Circle. And we now have a wonderful team of women working for the Circle, and Ellie has recently become one of the Women's Wellness Circle coaches. So it's great to have Ellie on this call now. So hi, Ellie. You'll hear more from Ellie in a moment. And to get the most out of our time together, I invite you to get whatever you need to be comfortable right now. Like if you need to go to the bathroom, if you need to get a cup of tea, if you need a blanket or something, or to take layers off, whatever you need. And I invite you to put your phone on silence, shut down any browsers on your computer that you're not using right now, and to really make this an hour of self-care for you, to really honor this time for yourself, showing up here and actually getting the most from this call that you possibly can without distractions. And then as you feel ready, I invite you to take a moment to pause at the beginning of this interview, to put a hand on your heart and a hand on your belly, and take a moment to take a couple of deeper breaths. And just to drop into whatever is alive for you in this moment, knowing that whatever you're bringing here is welcome. You might like to send a smile through your body as you welcome all parts of yourself into this moment, into this circle of women that's gathering from around the world. Start to expand your awareness to feel a sense of the earth beneath you, and to feel a sense of all the other women that are gathered here. You can almost imagine that we're all gathered in a circle together, and feeling the timeless connection of a women's circle, and that includes anyone who's listening to the replay afterwards. You're also in this circle. And take a moment to extend your well wishes and your love to all the other women here, wishing all the other women here well. And then take a moment to receive some of that love and well wishes for yourself. So today I'm interviewing our new Women's Wellness Circle coach, Ellie Paskell, on the topic of reverence for the body as a path of healing. And I've just realised I'm going to unmute you, Ellie. There we go. You can talk now. So yeah, welcome, Ellie.
Much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, great to have you here. Ellie is a somatic soul coach and also a mindfulness-based pain management teacher, an emerging kind peer groups of facilitator. Ellie lives a radical life guided by the wisdom of her body and is passionate about supporting women to reclaim their health and their power. In 2012, after 5 years of inexplicable fatigue, Ellie finally cried, "Enough. To hell with the idea that there's something wrong with me that has no cause. In fact, to hell with the idea that there's anything wrong with me at all. I will revere my body, follow its guidance, and craft a path to wellness myself." And so she did. Ellie released her normal life and chose to be utterly present to her body, meaning her symptoms, which spoke of chronic fatigue syndrome and post-traumatic stress disorder, opened themselves to her, revealing their secrets and their origins. She also uncovered her integrity and self-love in the process and midwifed herself through an energetic awakening. Ellie is a deeply kind, visionary wellness coach and delighted to be part of the Women's Wellness Circle team. So thank you so much for being here with us today, Elliot. I really feel really touched that you're here and by your journey and by your presence, and I feel you are a real gift to the world. You know, you're an amazing, incredible woman, and I'd love to know more about your journey of healing and what's led you into the work you do today in the world, who you are today.
Yeah,
I know it's a big question, but yeah.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. I'm gonna begin saying that everything I will share today is grounded in an invitation to myself, to everyone I work with, and everybody watching right now, to allow themselves to be how they are and where they are a little bit more. So with that in mind, I'm going to welcome where I am. I'm going to welcome all the elements of myself, including the bit of me that says I have to be like some kind of a perfect being on this call. Including the bit of me that has notes here so that it will help me to know what I might say. The last thing I want is to pretend anything like I'm not looking at my notes. And when I say that, what I experience is I can see my body, my womb space, and my energy body vibrating with more vitality. And really, that's the grounding of what my healing journey has taught me. After these years of fatigue, where basically I spent that time saying that my body was wrong, there was something wrong with my body, and I had to hide what was happening effectively in order to retain the status quo of my life. After that point, my inner wise woman knowing finally got loud enough for me to say, there is something really magical here for me to follow. This heaviness in my body, this fatigue this is a gateway. This is an invitation for me to step into the opposite of this. And I knew this in my bones. This is an invitation for me to manifest the life that I truly wanted from the inside out, fueled by integrity and truth. And one in which I was in touch with the innate magic of what it is to be a human being and in touch with my innate worthiness. And so I surrendered. I surrendered my normal life, my life that looked really great on the outside. And I said, all right, body, I'll listen now. And that marked the beginnings of 2 years intensive healing practices. I didn't know that's how long it would be. But I spent the first part of that year in a clinic in England, which works with the energetics of trauma. And then the second year in Thailand, working with energy healers over there, and also spending hours and days and weeks in deep meditation with my body. And I call this time my energy illumination, because in this time, everything became energy. So I began to see how there was no separation between my physical experience and my emotions and my mind. And I would see how the shutdown would happen when I was out of integrity in any way, when I was blocking an emotion, perhaps, when I was not holding a boundary. I'm just taking a breath because I can feel that speaking this out loud is quite a lot. Yeah, and the magic of the inner workings of my body just basically gave me a guided tool. They were like, this is the limb in which you hold anger. This is the place in which you block that thing. This is this heart, this womb, this throat, this third eye is closing when you feel the heaviness. And my attention on the fatigue was like a prism splitting light. And it all opened up. And I was like, this is not just a heaviness. This is parts of me that have been pulled in and suppressed. And I gave them the space to open out. And right? And I found out how enormous my energy body was, and how much I needed to tend to it, and how much care and reverence I deserved, and how precious I was, and how magical life was, and how I didn't need to achieve anything or perform anything in order to feel wonderful about myself. And with all of this, health and vitality just started to come back. And really fundamentally what I saw was everything my body does is precious guidance, and she doesn't do anything wrong. And that's not to say that there isn't things that happen in my body which are really freaking annoying, and I welcome the annoyance also, but it's all okay. Like, it's all okay. It all deserves the tension and reverence and listening. And my precious body is always guiding me one breath at a time back to health.
I love it. There's so many questions I want to sort of speak to and go into more depth on. And one of them is, like, for all the women that are listening, that some of them are maybe experiencing some really, really challenging symptoms. How do you suggest that women cultivate reverence for their body and start to see it as a message, as a healing, the symptoms? How do you suggest that when they're in so much pain or so fatigued, or
It's such a good question. And my sense is that this question speaks to the part of us which is so freaking annoyed. So freaking annoyed. I want to go to this place. I don't want to feel this. So my answer is kind of twofold. The first bit being, welcome that anger. Welcome that. Welcome the annoyance. So often I've seen for myself, particularly with anger, I can think that I'm angry at a symptom, and perhaps I am. But when I give space to that anger, when I really allow myself to feel it, the anger kind of, often I begin to see that it's bound up in a really incredible way with the symptom itself. So that when I give space to this whole experience, perhaps with literally taking a 5-minute meditation, getting myself comfortable, setting the intention to be with my body and be with my emotions and say, sweet one, what is going on here? What I'll see, for example, with anger, is that the anger isn't just at the symptom, the anger is in the symptom. The anger is part of what the symptom is. And as I allow the anger, and as I give a little bit space to the symptom and all of it, it starts to kind of flutter under my gaze. And this is what the energy body does. And opens itself to me and tells me what it needs. And in this process, whether I do this for 1 minute, one breath, or a few weeks at a time, this is healing. Healing means to make whole. So welcoming the self. When the self has more space and it begins to, as I say, this fluttering, this expansion of what is, that fluttering will always lead to more peace in the body and will always be bringing a piece of us home. So that's the first bit, allow the emotion, allow the resistance. And then the second piece is just taking a breath again and inviting everyone to do this also, because I'm using a lot of words. If I could actually speak to you telepathically right now or only with movement, I would, but I haven't figured out how to do it yet. And sometimes the words are not so nice in the body. Yeah. And as I breathe, I notice huge amounts of energy in my womb space and I watch it expand. And I feel myself recalibrate a bit. Yeah. So the second part of my answer is to open to whatever would soothe this symptom. This is the first step. So this might sound so obvious, but for myself, I resisted resting for 5 years. I had this fatigue and I didn't want to rest. And why? And it served me for that time not to tend to the symptom, because it meant that the status quo of my life and of my image of who I was as a woman remained. I was a busy person. I was successful in a linear patriarchal world. I was doing things. I was in the city. I was fine in the city. I was tough. I wasn't really ready to let that go until I did do this initial surrender. And for me, this invitation to actually ask one's symptoms, what do you actually need? How can I actually ease you today? Is so often very much bound up in releasing shame. What if just even for a moment I entertain the idea that nothing my body is doing is wrong and I've not done anything wrong in order to create this symptom? Then what? Well, then I'm just here with this symptom in my precious body. I'm just here able to go, what do you need? And my experience of this, once we step over that line, is that the surrendering and the giving the symptom what it asks for can be delicious. Like, it can be, to rest without guilt. That's nice. So, to entertain the notion of releasing shame and to ask the body genuinely, what do you need? And to open to giving it to yourself, even if it's just 10% more. So if your body's like, I want to rest all day long and you can't quite see how to do that yet, maybe rest for half an hour and simply open to the idea of doing that guilt-free and just see what happens.
So you spoke somewhat to some of the kind of messages the symptoms might be speaking to us, maybe like we need to have more balance, we need to rest, and maybe we need to contact anger or release our shame, whatever. Can you speak more to sort of what are some of the common themes that you see, maybe from your own experience, maybe with clients, that sensations and symptoms can be speaking to?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so again, I'm going to take another breath. I'm going to sink into my own body. I'm going to invite you to do the same thing. Anybody watching? Just perhaps noticing what's holding you, feeling that support. Tuning into what's present for you right now. And so at this moment, I see a bit of a pain around the bottom of my right leg, and I see a tension around my right wrist. And I've become quite familiar with these places. There's huge amounts of power that wants to pour up the right side of my body, and habitually I've blocked it. And I've been, dueling this power, this energy through me for years now, so that it doesn't, I tend to get smaller tensions now as opposed to a shutdown. But this has been such a message of power, for all of the loudness and apparent self-confidence and success in my life before. There was huge swathes of my humanity that I was pushing in, huge swathes of myself as woman that I was pushing in. And I say this now in an effort to just begin to explain like some of the ways that I've learned our bodies speak to us. And I've seen things like flu symptoms showing me when I get still with them, showing me how to let my heart space open and be more receptive to love. I've seen anxiety teach me about when I need to have stronger boundaries. And in the run-up to this interview, I've noticed that I've had a really strong sense of the divine feminine. And it's interesting that as I say that, there's thunder outside. Right. And I'm kind of nervous to speak this stuff out loud, but it's been coming through me so strongly. And this is what she's been saying to me. She's been saying, there's a new kind of power coming through us now. And it's no accident that it's more women who are getting chronically ill than men. There is a new power and a new wisdom and a new energy and a new clarity that needs to come in through the women and through the men that are channeling divine feminine in order to bring balance to this world. We are wanting so much. Okay, it's just started raining. This is Mother Earth. How is the sound? Shall I put my headphones on?
You may be headphones on, yeah.
Right. I was just about to start talking about Mother Earth. Okay, how is that sound? Yeah. So, the divine feminine has been like, Ellie, this is not about you. You're just a channel. Like, you felt the fatigue because you needed to feel that parts of your channel was blocked. You needed to feel that parts of your power were blocked. You could have had a whole nother lifetime with these blockages in your body, but you knew that there was something more for you to do now, and you needed to do it now because it's time for us to really take care of the earth. It's time for us to create a world that feels the way we want it to feel, flowing and loving and safe and healthy for our children. And it's time for us to create a way of living that honors the earth, that is sustainable for our planet. And the divine feminine has been reminding me that we have this patriarchal society has been wanting to receive from the earth, take for a very long time. And that our bodies have been reflecting this. We cannot only take, we have to honor the cycles. And I hadn't honored my cycles throughout my life because this isn't how the world works, and I didn't know how to do that. So I make up that I kind of then had however many years of refining that balance of all the times I've been doing and not stopping. And the stillness that ensued when I began to listen to my body and actually ask her, how much stillness and rest do you actually want? Meant that I was able to hear this brand new age-old wisdom that was coming through me, which I couldn't have heard had I been busy all the time. And this is the wisdom that needs to come through now, that is grounded in love, that is grounded in humanity. And it's coming through, it is my deep belief, many of us who are experiencing chronic illness. Because we are the ones who are brave enough to be slow in a world that is always quick. And we are the ones who are brave enough to get soft and still enough to begin to feel in a world which feels quite difficult to be in. And the world and Mother Earth needs us to feel
in order to know how on earth to create a world that will feel like a world that we want to live in, we needed to reconnect with our emotional guidance system. And often this resensitizing that we're experiencing looks like chronic fatigue, pain. It looks like IBS, because we first need to see where we're blocked so that these blockages can be opened. And often this resensitizing looks like anxiety and depression, at least initially, because it can be quite scary to be becoming sensitive in this world. And often this resensitization and this reconnection with our sixth, seventh, and eighth senses can look like things like mental health challenges, because there's whole new swathes of our human experience that we're becoming aware of, that we need to, because we need to gain greater perspective on living as human beings and how to do that in order to create this new world. But this new perspective begins to open, all hell can break loose. So really, I want to say, and words from the Divine Feminine to all of you who are going through challenging experiences, thank you. Thank you for being brave enough to move through this.
Really, really powerful. I feel like so expanded and from your sharing. And I'm wondering if we can actually move on to an embodied practice now. So we have time to cover everything today.
Okay. So 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. So inviting everyone at this moment to drop into where you are, to notice what shape you're in, to notice how you're breathing, to notice that which is supporting you, to notice the places in your body where you are held. Beneath the furniture, the mat, the ground, essentially is the earth. And that which is keeping you in contact with the earth is gravity. And I invite you to give into gravity 10% more. You are so safe, so sacred and held. So noticing that you're breathing, noticing that you are held, and just letting this question drop into your soma, into your body like a fizzy vitamin. What if I allow myself to know in this moment that everything that is happening in my body, my emotions, my mind, is all right? Just taking a breath with that. Yeah. And as I guide you briefly, gently through your somatic landscape, through your felt sense world, I invite you to notice any and all layers of it. So the physical being, what might be alive for you with sensation, either pleasant or challenging, your emotional experience, any ways in which the thoughts echo in the body, and anything that's happening with you energetically, whatever that means for you. So, with great kindness now, allowing your awareness to move through your feet and your legs. Just dropping in the question, what is alive for me in these parts of my body? There might be a sense of energy, texture, temperature, movement, color, or stillness, numbness. Just being gently with the feet and the legs. What's alive for you here? The answer might be clear or it might be a big old I don't know. And being curious if there is an I don't know. Just being with that. Now allowing your awareness to glide upwards. Taking in the hip and the womb space, the pelvic bowl, top of the legs, the genitals, the bum, very gently being in this space with your awareness. Now the back space, spine, tailbone, back of the ribs, shoulder blades. I invite you to really reside in your back for a moment. And always noticing what is alive for me here. And then being with the front body now. So touching on the womb space again. And the solar plexus, the area beneath the ribs. The chest and the heart space, front and top of the shoulders. And the arms and the hands now. And if at any point things become too much, you can always send your awareness to the places in your body where you feel yourself supported. It's gentle pressure between yourself and the furniture. Being with the arms, the hands. The neck and the throat. And the head and the face. Now that you've said hello to your somatic landscape, I invite you to welcome it in the same way that you might welcome a good friend, exactly as they are. And if there's discomfort here, if there's aches and pains, challenge in the body, I invite you equally to welcome that with deep kindness. What if you allowed yourself to know, only for a moment, everything that is going on in your body, including any emotion or resistance, is absolutely all right, absolutely correct. Your body can be trusted. And perhaps if there is aches and pains, challenge, inviting the breath to be like a soothing balm that breathes around and perhaps even gently into these spaces. Perhaps to ease the sensation, or perhaps simply to reaffirm that this part of you is welcome exactly as it is. And as you breathe with your precious body, I invite you to allow it to take up just 10% more space energetically. Just breathing with the body. The kind of reception and holding that you might give to a good friend. And then just dropping in the question. Body, is there anything for need to know right now. Perhaps there is a particular part of your body that your awareness is drawn to. Perhaps there's a particular sensation. Or perhaps there's a thought process which is really prevalent and feels to be almost in the way of you experiencing your body. And I invite you to breathe with that and to simply ask the whole of you, the whole of your soma, the whole of your felt sense experience, is there something for me to know right now? And if there is a particular area or place or sensation that your awareness is drawn to, I invite you to, just for a moment, open to its communication. If this part of your body spoke to you, what language would it speak in? Would it be gentle, lilting Italian? Would it be clipped Russian? If it had a movement, what would the movement be? Is there a movement that you'd like to make right now? Is there a noise that goes with this sensation? Are there words? I invite you to go for it, to do any of those things right now if you want. And just breathing with this. It's okay if there's no response. It's okay if there's a clear response and everything in between. And now allowing this questioning to dissolve and simply taking one more breath with the whole of you. It's more tuning into that energy of invitation of you body, you experience, you are welcome exactly as you are. And with your next breath, thanking yourself for taking the time to be kind to yourself in this way. And with your next breath, noticing those sensations again of the places in your body where you're supported and letting them hold you. Letting that ground, that furniture hold you. And in your own time, very gently allowing this practice to come to a close.
Thank you, Ellie. That was beautiful. So if any of our listeners would like to share any of your experience so far from the interview and the practice, feel free. And if you have any questions for Ellie, now is your opportunity to ask some questions. And while they're coming in, just to say that we also have Natalka saying, great to have you on board, to Ellie, and we have Maura here from Ireland, so welcome everybody who's here, and anyone who hasn't put their name in the chat, welcome to you as well. And now feels like a good time to let you know that Ellie has a free gift for everyone listening, and there'll be more details in the email after the event, which will come tomorrow to you. That you're invited to join Ellie's monthly global gathering, which is Self-Love Sundays, an online event in which you get to step into a pocket of kindness. And in each session, Ellie will support you to nourish your relationship with yourself and revolutionize your life with guided meditations, tools to use in your daily life, and opportunities to share your experience. And the next session is on Sunday, the 26th of May at 3:45 p.m. British Standard Time. Yeah, Joanna, would you mind putting the link in the chat for people? It's elliepaskell.com//self-love if you want to sign up for that. Okay, so yes, thank you, Joanne, for putting that in. Great. So Ellie, so we've got some, right. Ingrid shares, Ellie, how do you understand or work with terror from trauma, especially when it manifests as night terrors that seem to be getting more and more intense? Thank you.
Okay. So first I want to say that I hear you and thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, so how do I understand trauma? So yeah, we didn't really touch on this very much, but yeah, the first big swathe of my journey was healing in a place where I was supported to understand my experience in terms of post-traumatic stress disorder. Whew, and I can feel that in my body just when I say it. Yeah, and how I understand that is from an energetic perspective. So a person becomes traumatized when trauma energy becomes trapped in their body. So when we're in a difficult experience, a threatening experience as a mammal, as a human, the body goes into fight-flight mode, and an enormous amount of energy is mobilized through the system so that we can either run away or fight with our predator. But if we're not able to do either of these things, then we freeze. And this means all of this energy becomes trapped in the body. And in an ideal situation, when the threat has passed, the creature, the animal, or the human being, their system unfreezes and they literally shake out the energy. But because humans have intellect, we are able to kind of not understand, see from an intellectual place what our body wants to do and suppress it. And this means that this enormous energy can become stuck in the body. And this is why if we have trauma, we can become very easily triggered. So something that might seem like a small trigger can make us get very angry or very anxious, or make the whole of our body go into a kind of shutdown. For me, this was manifesting with this heaviness, with this fatigue, over and over, and we get stuck in a loop. And what the body wants is to complete the loop. Now, this can look different for everybody. And what I would invite you to do is to spend a little bit of gentle time with your body, if it feels safe. Ideally, to do this with some kind of support. So that might mean being with somebody that you really trust to do a gentle meditation together and for you to sink into your body and ask it what it seems to need when you're experiencing this terror. How does it want to move? Is there a movement it wants to make? Is there a sound you want to make? If you take an extra breath with this feeling of frightenedness, what does it tell you need? I would also invite you, if you have the means to do so, to investigate trauma therapy. And I don't know if you might want to speak to this, Frances, just in terms of whether the Women's Wellness Circle tends to look at this, or if this is something that we would always, refer out. I would say for myself, I work with practitioners for somatic experiencing therapy, which is a wonderful therapy that's now available in England and works with the energetics of trauma. Yeah. But if you take anything away from my answer, I would just say a little bit of space and kindness just for this first step.
Okay. Thank you, Ellie.
Yeah.
And Rachel shares, did you use EFT, emotional freedom technique, to help release emotions?
I have done a little bit of that, but only a tiny bit. I think it's beautiful if it's the thing that we're drawn to. I believe that what feels right for us, the kind of the loving flow of intuition in our body that says maybe this technique is always right, always above what anybody else could suggest to us. So if this is something that you're working with or you're drawn to, I'd say totally brilliant, go for it.
Great. And going back to what you said before around trauma, I mean, I do work with trauma, and I work with EFT primarily in terms of helping to release the energy of trauma.
Yeah.
And so does Jen. But yeah, it's but also somatic experience, and I think is great as well. And appreciate that body of work. Okay, so we have, is it, I can't see your name, why is your name not showing? So many emotions I just experienced, mostly sadness, as I realised how often I do feel guilty for my symptoms, and all the time and energy I give to myself, and how much resistance I am feeling towards symptoms. So I don't know if you want to say anything in response to that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I hear you talking about guilt. You said the word guilt, right, Frances?
Yes.
Yeah,
guilty
guilt.
for my symptoms. That's Mariska. Hi, Mariska.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so really, I just want to say, yeah, freaking hear you, sister. A big part of my instinct around why so many of us women are becoming ill at this time on Earth is the shame element. And we can feel shame about what we're experiencing, or we might be experiencing what we're experiencing because we feel shame. But I would invite you to spend a little bit of time with that guilt. Give it a little bit of space, see what it has to say, and then ask the question, how would I take care of myself if there was no guilt? The part of me that knows there is no reason to feel guilt. I am glorious as I am. Everything that my body does is correct. Then what?
Beautiful, thank you. And Natalka shares how best to tune into your own intuition.
So you broke up then, can you repeat that?
How best is it to tune into your own intuition?
That's such a gorgeous question. Okay, so I can feel that the bottom of my body has just got tense, so is my womb space. So before I answer about intuition, I'm going to take a breath with that and invite everybody else to do the same into your womb space, or just into your body if the womb feels too overwhelming. Yeah. So how best to tune into your intuition? For me, the flow of my intuition and the flow of what genuinely feels good to do is the same thing. The flow of what genuinely feels good to do, it sounds obvious. This is my inner wise, loving guidance, but I suppressed it for so many years, being at school, thinking that the path of most resistance was going to be the one that got me the most points. So it can be really beautiful and possibly quite groundbreaking work to simply go a day at a time and a moment at a time, even if you just take 5 minutes at the beginning of the day and go, what would love tell me to do today? Like, what would be nice? What would feel good? And maybe you've got a Sunday in which you can intuitively follow those impulses of what would actually feel good to do today, instead of ticking off the things on my to-do list. Or maybe you've just got 7 minutes and you're like, right, 7 minutes are free at this moment. What would actually be lovely to do at this moment? And I invite you, and my knowing about this is that as you tune into what feels good, it's the same as tuning into your intuition. Yeah.
So we are kind of coming towards the end. I'm going to read what's still here and then see if you can sort of speak generally to what sort of jumps out to you from what's still here.
Okay.
So Lucy shares, thank you, Ellie, that self-care Sunday sounds lovely. Mitchie shares, thank you, Ellie and Frances. I say I live off-grid, and if asked what I do, I tell people my job is to look after myself. Great to hear that validated and beyond. Josephine shares, every time I talk, I suffer chronic pain in my chest. How do I address this? Claire says, you mentioned you went to a retreat in England during your first year of healing. I would love to know where that is. What was it, a residential retreat? Thank you. Dana shares, can you talk a little more about what it looks like to welcome the anger? Is there a resource for symptoms? In what parts of the body carry what meaning? Maura shares, my body, heart and mind is asking for gentleness a lot lately, yet there is still so much anger in my rib cage. Thank you. Mitchie says, do you know anyone who does somatic experiencing up here in Manchester, please? I don't know if you know Ellie's in Manchester, but it's not somatic experiencing, but yeah, great. Something else, but wonderful. Thank you, Ellie, says Mariska. Your invitation to think about what if I was guilt-free made me cry, as I would love to be able to feel that, but cannot connect to the I am exactly good as I am when with symptoms yet. We'll think of this question more often. Thank you. And then lots of emojis.
Okay. Okay, as briefly as possible. Literally, what have I got? Like 2 minutes, like 3 minutes? What?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we've got 2 minutes. We've gone over schedule already.
Okay. All right. So the anger piece. I had looked for anger resources and have not found them, and I'm making them. I actually made one recently, which I will give to the Women's Wellness Circle. So hopefully that's something that's going to become available here. Somatic experiencing, yes. So whoever asked the question about that, you're very welcome to contact me. I'm not an SE practitioner, but if you want someone who's working with the body, that's something we can absolutely do. And if I'm not the right person for you to work with, then I can give you contacts in and around Manchester.
Someone's put a link already for a list of, UK list of.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, beautiful. And I have to speak even briefly to this piece about speaking and the pain that you get every time you go to speak. So part of my journey has been that my body just did not want to speak and it did not want to use words. And of course, my ego had a huge amount to say to that, because it was like, how are you going to survive in a world where you don't want to use words and you don't want to read and you don't want to be logical? And so at times I really resisted that guidance, and at times I went with it. And I would invite you, as far as you are able and willing, to go with it, even if it's just 5 minutes a day. I found that I needed to be silent, literally, in order to let my energy channels and my literally like funnel of integrity, my funnel of truth, realign and recalibrate. That's looked like energetically, and it's looked literally like parts of my body needing space to realign. And this has been a big part of letting my vitality come back. So what I want to say is I freaking validate what you're getting and the signal in your body that says, please don't speak. And yeah, even if you can only take 5 minutes a day to honor that, try and see what happens.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. So many of the women here are women in the Women's Wellness Circle community, and some of you might perhaps just on sort of our wider email list. And this is just to take a moment to welcome anyone who might be interested in joining the Women's Wellness Circle community, which is a sort of online support platform for healing from chronic illness. And if any of you would like to join and sign up to join on a yearly basis to support your healing journey over the next year, you'll also receive a one-to-one somatic soul coaching session with Ellie as part of the package if you are ready to sort of sign up in the next couple of days. And it's designed to be a deep support system for healing, including many resources to support your healing, and also a community of women on a similar path. And it also includes monthly group coaching calls. We have one next Wednesday, actually, which will be with Ellie and I, just decided today, and it's on healing subconscious blocks on our recovery journey. And we'll be following a journey over the next year of looking at different layers of what it takes to heal from chronic illness. And then you also get access to all the Women's Wellness Council interviews from the last 2 years, and our upcoming council, which is in May, where we're interviewing pioneers of healing and feminine awakening. And you might want to get that in your diary if you haven't already. Anyway, it's the 20th to the 23rd of May for some sacred self-care time for you and inspiration. And yeah, you also get access to a Facebook community group with weekly intention setting ceremonies and office hours, and a deep support network for your healing journey, and lots more. I'll put information in an email afterwards. And also for the women that are already in our community, then for those women, Ellie has also opened up 3 discovery call slots, which I emailed you about earlier today. So you should have a link for that in your inbox, and I'll put it in the Facebook community group after probably tomorrow now as well. So yeah, Ellie, really See if there's any more messages coming in. So Ingrid shares, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your beautiful embodied wisdom, Ellie. Thank you for this wonderful offering, Frances. Josephine, thank you, Ellie and Frances. Thank you so much, Ellie and Frances, for this beautiful session. Says Mariska, Natalka, loving your kindness energy that is radiating from you, Ellie. And Dana shares, thank you. So Ellie, what's one final piece of wisdom that you'd like to leave our women with today on how they can best support their healing journey from chronic illness?
So just my pre-final piece is just to reiterate that the sign up for the Self-Love Sundays and for the discovery calls for women who are already members is free, and there's only 3 slots for the discovery calls, so do click the link and do the magic for that. So my final thing to say, I deeply believe that there is a part of you that absolutely knows that you're where you need to be, that your body can be absolutely trusted, that the guidance it's giving you is sacred, and that you can let go and welcome yourself exactly as you are. And even beyond that, to celebrate yourself exactly as you are. So I invite you to nourish that part of yourself that does know this, however clear or however buried she might be, to nourish that part of you just 10% more today, this week, going forward. Whether with the tools that I've suggested or something else that's coming from your intuition, you know, you are wise, your body is wise. Follow it and see what happens.
Love it. Thank you, Ellie. So true.
Yeah, thank you.
And Joanna's put a link if you're interested in joining the Women's Wellness Circle community in the chat as well. And Joanna's our community manager. And just a few more messages. Wendy shares, you are amazing, Ellie. Do you also work with any brain retraining now? Through that, when Wendy will be referring to it's kind of the Gupta program, which Jen and I are coaches for, which is a brain retraining program, including like mindfulness and meditation and approaches to get out of unhelpful patterns that contribute to illness and symptoms. So I think, you know, your work is your own version of brain retraining with and other things as well. But I don't know if you want to speak to that briefly.
Yeah, I will, just briefly, yeah. So obviously the tools that I bring as a mindfulness teacher, absolutely. But my grounding, the real heartfelt body-led structure that I'm offering is that as the somatic soul coaching model. So if you put somatic soul coaching in, you'll find information. You'll also find it on my website, elliepaskell.com. But just briefly to say that this is a model in which we are working with the whole of you. So this includes working with all of your nervous system, including the brain. We're working with self-directed neuroplasticity. So the fact that you can choose new ways to be, which includes new ways to think, and this will literally rewire your brain so that you can create what it is you want in your life, whether that's more health, a more loving relationship with your body, or something related to something else. Yeah.
Beautiful. And Kialia, I'm not sure I'm saying your name right, shares, thank you, ladies, that was fantastic and so full of wisdom. Rachel says, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing, Ellie. There's Joanne, Katie, amazing. Thanks, Ellie and Frances. So thank you so much, Ellie, for being here today and for bringing your wisdom to the circle. And yeah, it's been an honor to interview today, and it's an honor to welcome you into the Women's Wellness Circle as a coach and to bring your wisdom here. So thank you for the amazing work you do in the world.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your beautiful, kind presence also. And yeah, I'm thrilled to be part of this beautiful circle that you've created.
And thank you to all the women who have joined today, helping to bring your own unique medicine and magic into this circle today, and your own unique wisdom. So I just invite us all to take a moment to take a breath together and to feel this circle, this timeless circle, so those who are listening to the replay can also tap into the energy that's here. And take a moment to drop into your heart and to open your heart and wish all the other women here healing and health and happiness. And take a moment to receive some of that that's been sent out by the other women, and take it into your heart, into your body, as a blessing for your own healing journey. And feel a sense of support in this circle of women. Thank you from Teresa as well there. Thank you, Teresa, for being here. Thank you, everyone, for being here. So wishing you all well, and you'll get an email tomorrow. Bye, sisters.
Bye.